Welcome to everyone who's physically or remotely here today. And I know a number of people have signed up with the request to get the recording. So hello to all of those people who will be joining us in the future. Our topic today is 5 powerful tips to scale you. And if you can scale you, you can go a long way towards scaling your business. And while this is a kickoff for the new year, we believe these tips that we're going to be sharing today are going to be very useful throughout the year. So there's some continuity here. So let me start by introducing myself. I'm Elizabeth Eiss, and I'm the CEO and founder of Results Resourcing. And I'll talk more about results resourcing a little later in the talk. But let me give you a little background as to why I'm giving this talk today and perhaps some of the relevance of my background. But I spent years in Fortune 500 businesses running business operations, so focusing on what makes a good business run well. And then 24 years ago, I was enticed to join a tech startup in New York City. And so that was in the year 2020, and I discovered the world of entrepreneurship and small business ownership, and I have been an entrepreneur ever since. And while I'm also familiar with the business side of running a small business, I also became an angel investor. So I also understand why scaling a business is important to people who eventually want to exit a business that they built over time into something that was valuable. So I really come at it from 2 perspectives. And during the years of my entrepreneurship, I really spent the last 2 decades plus hiring freelancers. And during that time, discovered for myself how amazingly talented freelancers are. And in the early days of the gig economy, a lot of people in the general public thought freelancers were people that couldn't get jobs, which was the farthest thing from the truth. They're really specialists, they're experts that want to, do their own area of expertise and offer that to the marketplace. And then I also discovered, in addition to the value of freelancers, there was a huge gap for small businesses. They didn't really understand the values that freelancers could bring to their businesses, and then how to find them. So there was a real gap in the talent solutions that were made available to small businesses. So frankly, that inspired me to launch Results Resourcing in 2015. And really what we are is a firm that's a contract staffing firm and a technology hybrid that basically provides human help, that talks to small businesses to help them understand their needs and help them hire fractional talent. And so at the end of the day, I really discovered that my business was also a mission. And I've been empowering business owners to scale ever since. And that's really what this talk today is all about. So small businesses are 99.9% of all US businesses. And that really became my particular focus because as a new business, I discovered that that's the vast majority of businesses. We hear all the time about enterprise businesses and the stock market and those kind of companies, but that's not really what drives the country. It does, but 46% of the US GDP is small businesses. And that's an enormous amount of money. Around $13 trillion is driven by small businesses by current standards based on US SBA data. So if you look at the complexion of small businesses, there are about 33 million of them. But interestingly enough, 29 million of that 33 million are non-employee firms. So they're solopreneurs. And then another 6 million firms employ less than 10 employees in their businesses. So that, to me, is a really interesting fact because the average revenue of a solopreneur in the United States is 50 grand. And if you're a small employer, you might earn $400,000 a year if you have 1 to 4 employees, 5 to 9 employees, $1 million, and 10 to 19 is $2 million. And so I just kept asking myself the question, if these businesses had access to the expertise of freelancers, could they scale? And so really that became kind of my mission. Like, how do I help small businesses have the impact they want by hiring freelancers that can help them scale their businesses? And so what I really want to talk about today is how a small business can maximize the impact of that small business Whatever the mission was in mind to start a particular business, how can you accelerate the achievement of that mission? And it's really scaling your business so you can have more impact. So I want to basically talk about 5 points today. The first is to embrace your role as the CEO of your business. The second is to understand the value of your time. Third is really focusing your time on core work that delivers value versus the non-core work that you need to run your business. And I'll explain more about what that means in a moment. Developing an outsourcing strategy and the skills to outsource, because that's the way to help scale your business. And then lastly, harnessing the power of virtual assistants. And I have that in quotes because so many people think of VAs or a virtual assistant as an individual person that provides email support, calendaring supports, things like that. But really, I think of virtual assistant in much broader terms. I think of it as a professional service. In fact, many of you may have virtual assistant businesses because you're helping people with their websites, or you're helping people with their bookkeeping. Those are all examples of virtual assistants that you provide your clients. So I have a very broad definition of what virtual assistance is. And I'm going to be talking more about how you can really harness that power of virtual assistants in growing your businesses. So let me talk first about embracing your role as the CEO. And it's the shortest tip in terms of time and slide time, but it's actually perhaps one of the most challenging ones, because when you started your business, the things that made you successful in starting business kind of get in the way as you get to be a larger business. Most people, including myself, started with a true DIY mentality, do it myself. How do I bootstrap my business? How do I be resourceful to get my business off the ground? And that's a great place to start any business. But at some point, as the saying goes, what got you started doesn't help you get to the end game. And so that leads me to the next couple of things. One is undervaluing your time. If you're trying to just get stuff done to get the business started, you'll just undertake all kinds of activities to get it going. But over time, that's not the best use of your time. And I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then, of course, financial constraints, whether they are the capital that you have to start your business, or the fact that it's harder to get capital as a small business. Lenders tend to want larger businesses. And certainly if you're looking for equity capital, those are much larger businesses with revenue and much more of a infrastructure behind a business. So there are always financial constraints that limit a small business. So in this particular tip, it's really key to think about making a mind shift from worker to leader. That while you started a business, you're leading a business that has potential. And how do you help that business achieve its potential? Part of it is by thinking as a leader, a CEO, rather than the worker that does the work that got your business started. And to me, it's changing from DIY to how do I scale my idea so I reach more people, reach more clients, have more impact. And while this is a really kind of trite phrase, it is true. You need to shift from working in the business, which is necessary, to working on the business. And sometimes making that shift means getting help to take on some of that work of working in the business so you can work on the business. So that really leads me to the second point, which is understanding the value of your time. And time is the most valuable asset you have, and it's also your most finite. There's only 24 hours in a day. You can't do anything to change that. That is your individual limitation. So I like to think about time in two buckets. I like to think about it in terms of investing time and spending time. And to me, a good investment of time is time that you spend to generate revenue or to deliver value to your clients. Spending time certainly has to happen. And spending time is a cost. It's the cost to run a business, but it doesn't necessarily generate revenue or value in and of itself. And so to me, it's always that balance between investment of time that generates revenue and spending of time, which is necessary to run your business. So over time, in all the conversations I had about this, people would ask, okay, how do I know if I'm investing or spending my time? So I developed this little tool called a value of time calculator. And we're just going to do it on a back of napkin really quickly. So if you have a piece of paper handy, just write down roughly what's an hour of your time worth. And there's no right answer to that. Just write a number down that represents what you think an hour of your time is worth. Then I'd like you to write down how many hours a week do you work? Again, no right answer, just what feels right. And then multiply the two, and that will give you a certain value. And that value is the value of the time you work each week. It's just a rough guesstimate of the worth of that time you spend. And if you really want to do the calculator itself and to try it yourself, you can just use the QR code here, or that's the URL to the actual tool itself. It takes about 3 minutes to do, but it'll walk you through an exercise of helping you think through what is an hour of your time worth and what is the value you deliver to your clients, because that's really the time, how you should be focusing your time is on that valuable work. And then the rest of the calculator will take you through a couple of questions like, well, what else do you do? Whether it's emails or invoicing, writing content for social media, a number of things like that. And it'll help you start to segment the amount of time you're spending on that backroom work versus the front room work that really delivers value to your clients. And so I want to share with you the results of the ROI time calculator, because tons of people have taken this over time. And it's always this balance between investment and spending. And really, the time you're spending on work is your opportunity cost. So this is really the net result. On average, people have said that their hourly rate is $166 an hour, and that they work 58 hours a week. On revenue generating work, however, only 43% of their time is invested in revenue generating work. So if you do the math, that's 25 hours times 166. They invest $4,000 a week on average in growing their business, delivering value to their clients. And conversely, 57% is spent on non-generating work. So 33 hours times 166 hours, $666 per hour, it's $5,500. So that's money they're spending running their business, to keep the lights on, that sort of a thing, but it's not in delivering value. So to me, the secret is shifting hours, even if it's just a few in the beginning, to work that generates value for clients, that will help them get value from the work that you do on their behalf. So that leads me to tip number 3, which is do the core work, which generates value, versus the non-core work. And it's kind of the 80-20 rule. If you really focus on what matters, which is the smallest amount of your time, but delivers the most value, it's really investing in that work that adds the direct value to your business, or that fulfills you, because that's important too. So what is core work versus non-core work? Core work, again, is that work that your client pays you for. The non-core work, is work your client doesn't pay you for, but expects that you're running a solid business. So they expect that the business is well run, but they're not going to give you the direct cost. But you're building the cost for the non-core work into the rates that you charge for non-core work. And so I like to think of the core work as front room or front office work, and the core work, non-core work, is the back office work. And really, the opportunity is to find fractional resources that are good at whatever that backroom work is for you, and to begin to shift that work to fractional resources that can be, frankly, employed at a lower cost than your hourly rate, so you can make gains in your business. And so what do you do or delegate? So this is just a simple guide to think about, but doing the core work of what your customer values, that generates revenue, profit, impact. Those are the things that roughly you just intrinsically know that deliver value. That's really where you should spend your time. The maybe do is stuff that you really enjoy or that you're really good at. At some point, you need to think about, if you love doing Canva, is that really the best use of your time? If you really should be delivering financial services to your client, there's a balancing point. But at the same time, work should be fun. So if you really like doing something, then you can make a decision to do that work. And then anything else that's back room admin, ops, fractional skills that you don't need all the time and that you're not necessarily good at or don't like to do, something that's some specialized expertise, that stuff is the stuff you should think about delegating. And it's really that non-core work that costs you money that you can shift to someone else that does it better and is the expert in that area. That helps you shift your time so you do the stuff that is core and frankly that you love to do, that's kind of in that maybe category. That's really the area to focus on. And so here's some examples. So in the do column, this is probably core work to any business. Anything that has to do with delivering actual client value, strategy for your business, financial management, if you're going to innovate new products or services, partnerships, marketing strategy, and then just building your outreach, building your community, your network, not only of potential clients, but also partners, service providers. All that work is very important strategic work that is common to most businesses and should be in the do column. The delegate column is represented by this list. It's not exhaustive, but it's any kind of administrative work that often includes like email management or calendaring. If you don't have a CRM, you should think about getting one because that helps you manage your data about your business and your clients. And you can get help from CRM specialists to find the right one for you and to get it up and running. These are all kinds of examples of things that really deliver value that deliver value to your business, but are non-core and your client expects to have in your business, but not to pay for them. And the other thing to remember is that core and non-core varies by industry. If you're a social media marketing business, then that's probably core, not non-core, but that's something that you need to think about depending on what your business is. The fourth tip is really developing outsourcing strategies. And it's a skill. It's not something that's instinctive, especially to someone that has started a business on a DIY basis. But developing outsourcing strategies and skills will help you deliver scalable value cost effectively. So I'd like to mention a method that I've kind of coined that I call PTP, and it's process, tools, then people. And you've probably heard people talk about these three things together, but not necessarily in that order. But I feel strongly that this is the order it needs to happen if you want to deliver scalable value to your clients and to the market. So let me talk about why I think that order is important. Scaling you starts with process, because process is how you deliver customer value, and it's a business asset. And if you ever want to sell your business, having your business process documented and an intrinsic value of your business is important because that's what they're going to buy. An outside buyer is going to buy your process, how you deliver business value. So repeatable process is important because it helps you consistently deliver that value to your client. It helps you consistently get more done because you're not recreating the wheel. And it really lays the groundwork, enables you to delegate and outsource to others. And a lot of people say to me, oh, I'm not a process person. And I say, that's totally fine. There's a freelancer that loves to build business process for you, who will interview and get you ideas out of your head and into some sort of digital paper to document your process. So once you've got process down, and you can do it a little at a time, you don't have to document all your process at the same time. But once you have your process documented, then it's time to think about your tools, because it's important to use tech tools that fit your process as opposed to retrofitting your process to some tool that you bought. But a lot of people do buy tools first because, there's always the latest and the greatest tool out there. And it's going to be the magic bullet that, helps you scale your business. But really, you need to find the tools that fit your process. And so tech tools are important because, frankly, it's another way to outsource. People think about outsourcing to people, but you outsource to tools all the time, and it saves you time and money. And it allows you to offload those repetitive tasks to tools, not to people, because people are the most expensive. So tools help you lower costs. It helps you build systems. It helps you capture data that can't be captured in a human being's help. You need to get it into a database. So tools are really helpful for helping you recap the data. And the data is another thing that if you eventually want to sell your business, having data is really important. And then lastly, it helps you embrace artificial intelligence, which of course is everywhere these days. And just thought I'd mention a couple things that even for the smallest business, artificial intelligence can help you automate routine process workflows and responses. Responses like a chatbot to somebody that comes to your website. It also can help you synthesize information. So while you don't want to upload your confidential, important information to the internet, which then makes it public, you do want to find scalable tools that will help you understand your data and make correct judgments based on your data, or at least give you the basis for making those judgments. And lastly, artificial intelligence is great as ideation. Like, give me some new ideas to do X, Y, or Z, or a new article to write that, incorporates these ideas. It really can help speed your way to ideate a lot of different things. And just like process, a lot of people say to me, I'm not a tech person, and that's okay, because there's a freelance pro that loves technology that can help you figure out the best tools for your business to accomplish whatever your goals are. And as I mentioned, I think people are last. After process, tools, then people, because you really want to leverage people's minds for critical and creative thinking. So it's process, tech, and AI, then people. And those people could be employees, but they don't have to be. They could simply be your network or your business partners. But lastly, there's tons of freelancer contract professionals out there who might be network and business partners as well that can help you get more done because they're experts in their field. And again, my theme is basically, if there's a need you have, honestly, there is a freelance talent out there to do whatever it is you need. The challenge is just finding that right person, but I'm going to talk about that too. So really, harnessing the power of virtual assistants is that last bullet point. It helps you optimize your time and your capital. And freelancers are terrific, and I'm going to specifically focus on virtual assistants in the broadest sense of the word. They're available, they're flexible, and they're highly skillful. And a lot are specialized in a lot of different areas. So they allow you to offload non-core work. They allow you to add variable cost expertise, because generally speaking, you don't need some areas of expertise 40 hours a week. You just might need them 5 hours a week, or every couple of hours, every couple of weeks. So it's really variable based on what you need. It helps you add results-oriented talent, because freelancers are going to be specialized in whatever skill that they specialize in. And so they're geared to deliver that result for you. They're not in an employee mentality that's based on the time that they're spending. They're really trying to deliver results for you. And they can really add broad thinking and expertise and experience to you, because they work across clients, across industries. They might have developed a great deal of expertise over years, so they can bring expertise to you that you might not need to hire full-time, or may not want to hire full-time, but you can still leverage that broad thinking and expertise by hiring the right set of freelancers. And then lastly, and I have this point floating in, because freelancers can teach you how to organize your work and delegate. A lot of people say to me, oh, I don't really know how to delegate, or I'm not good at it, or I'm not that organized, or I need to organize all this stuff before I hire a freelancer. Well, freelancers can help you organize the most important things to enable you to outsource the most important work that helps you scale your business. So they can teach you to organize and scale and plan and do it a step at a time. Let me take just a minute to talk quickly about two real-world success stories, and I picked them deliberately. The first is a LinkedIn guru, a specialist that really knows how to get the most leverage out of the LinkedIn system and the tools that are there. But LinkedIn specialists are solopreneurs too. This one was, and before he hired a virtual assistant, he was a solopreneur delivering monthly webinars that were over a couple of days and greatly in-depth and very specialized. He shared information about his webinars through email automation and really only relied on volunteers to support him. And his needs were primarily in the area of marketing, systems, and customer support. After he hired a virtual assistant, and this is really what he said, this VA became an integral part of his business. Every single element was an area that the VA helped him build. And some of the key things that resulted were monthly webinar promotion and session support. So he could lead the session without having to handle the chat and that sort of thing. He was able to streamline and manage his website updates with the help of this virtual assistant. The tech support for every single changing software development in LinkedIn and the other tools that he used. And then lastly, frankly, it freed him up to conceive, start, and launch a new business revenue stream. So in addition to scaling the existing business, he found time to build another revenue stream. So this was a virtual business. The next business I want to talk about was a physical business, a physical therapy doc. Same kind of thing. Before VA, solo practice, really no systems, very limited support for her business, but she had a huge vision for her practice in her metropolitan area. But she had broad administrative and operations support needs and marketing needs. After hiring a VA, this was her quote, changed her life, both her business life and her personal life. And she also managed to have a child during this time period as she was scaling her business, and was able to do all this while moving the business forward, implementing a CRM, automated workflow, billing system. She did hire some employees, so the VAs were able to support HR, employment, and payroll systems. Also expanded into 5 social media channels, started doing physical therapy videos, recruited other physical therapy doctors, and opened an on-site facility, as well as collaborations with other professionals that really helped her scale her business. None of this would have been possible if she was trying to do it herself. So hiring a VA, in this case, a VA team, was really she was able to do all of this in a relatively short period of time, period of 2 years, I think. So how do you find freelance pros that can help you do some of the same things that these 2 examples did? Well, in 2024, there are 76 million freelancers estimated in the United States, and there's 160 billion roughly globally. So how do you find the right ones for you? Well, there's basically 2 ways. One is to do it yourself, either through network referrals or working with online platforms, and there are many of both. And the other option, and frankly, I am a contract recruiter for freelancers. So, I am talking about what we do for a living, but we deliver value that we get paid for, just like any freelance or contract specialist. But I think of these 2 options as low ROI and high ROI, because again, DIY, in terms of finding freelance pros, that takes time. And is that the best use of your time when you're not expert at it, and you might not have access to the top-notch freelancers that you need? So it's one of those trade-offs. Increasingly, there's a lot of collaboration networking groups, and a lot of times you can find great freelancers that way. And so I encourage that because it broadens your access to expertise. At the same time, many freelance contract professionals in those networking groups have a price point that may be higher than a lot of solopreneurs or small employers want to consider. So it's, again, a trade-off, your time versus their time. But for recruiters, that's what they do for a living, and they're good at it. So I am going to talk a little bit about what we do at Results Resourcing, because we are a little different from other fractional talent services out there. We are both a platform and a service. And what we've done is really focused exclusively on the solopreneur and small employee market. And we start with human help. So on many platforms, you're talking to technology. With us, you're talking to humans who have technology to make it efficient. And so with us, you're talking to entrepreneurs that have been there, started a business like you have, and have all the same needs you have, and find new ways to get the tools they need to scale. Through us, you access skilled, scalable talent, critical thinkers and doers. But what makes us really different is we provide access to teams of virtual assistants that can provide a broad array of skills and capacity to you. But you can also work with teams, an individual that's on a team, and we're cost effective and quick. So our on-demand freelance assistance really is a matching service to pre-vetted freelance professionals. So we already know they're good before we match them to you. And they're all from US and Canada. And we think this is important because they understand the culture here. They understand business practices in the United States and Canada and in the provinces and the states, which are all very different. And they're also very skilled in the professional practices and the communication styles that are important here. There are teams and individuals on teams, so you get skill breadth and depth by role type, because we have a number of specific roles that have predetermined rates. But we have no minimum hours commitments. So if you just need to start with 2 hours a week, that's not a problem. We're open to that. And we can get those teams up and running for you in 24 to 48 hours. They're competent, reliable, nice, and they're available now. These are some of the popular roles. They really cover the waterfront in terms of broad virtual assistants, from virtual assistants, executive assistants, biz dev support, online seller support if you're an Amazon distributor, online business manager, bookkeeper, project management. These are all things that the VA teams are highly skilled at. And we also, satisfaction guaranteed. You know, we named our company Results Resourcing because that's what we want to do. We want to deliver results. So to recap quickly, 5 tips to scale you in 2024, and I'd be happy to take some questions after I recap the skills. And my wonderful Lana Sanderson, who is supporting me in this system, has been monitoring the chat and will certainly take any questions that you put in the chat. But very quickly, starting with mindset, embracing your role as the CEO. Understanding the value of your time and thinking about how to shift more of it into the core work that drives value for your business and away from non-core work that someone else that's more specialized in backroom work can do for you at a lower price point that you can leverage to pay for, frankly, that virtual assistant work. And developing the outsourcing strategies and skills. And again, you don't have to plunge into the deep end. You can start small, just a couple of hours a week with a few things that you don't like to do the most that someone else could do better for you. Yeah, I really encourage people to wade into the process and learn along the way. And then embrace and harness the power of virtual assistants, because there are so many people that are so good at the things that can help you scale your business and really help you maximize your impact. And that's really what the 5 tips to scale you is all about, maximizing your impact and the impact of your business on you, your family, your community, and really helping you scale that value. So that's really what we wanted to talk about today. And I'm happy to take your questions. And I'm also happy to book a free 30-minute call with any of you, just using this QR code. And we can explore how freelance pros can help you scale your business. No obligation. I've become an expert in the past 15 years about utilization of freelancers and how to get them, and happy to help you on your journey. So Lana, do we have any questions? I'm happy to do my best to answer the questions that have come through from this talk.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much. And the session is recorded and the slides will be shared. There's a few people are concerned they missed a few things. We have a question from John. John, do you want to speak up and ask the question, or would you like me to ask for you? I think there's only one John in the room.
You can go ahead.
Okay. Do you have real estate agent success stories? Great question.
Yes, we have several. Because many real estate agencies are either independent or they work for groups that don't necessarily provide backroom support. So a lot of the success stories really are around virtual assistants that have real estate experience. And it kind of ends up in a couple of buckets. One is primarily in marketing and sales, managing newsletters, managing events, managing promotions, ads, that sort of thing. That's really common. And the ones that have the VAs that have experience can also help with contracting and document preparation, getting photographs, editing videos, for those kind of postings. So there's a really broad range of things. And then a lot of people, frankly, are Airbnb owners today. And so we have a number of clients that own Airbnbs, and they use virtual assistants to manage the Airbnbs, the rental agreements, the guides that they leave for the Airbnb patrons, manage payments, all kinds of things like that. So it's really a wide range of things that virtual assistants can do for real estate agencies. Does that answer the question? John, anything else I can tell you about?
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you, John. Assuming that's considered a core versus non-core work can shift over time, do you have any best practices for ensuring the work I'm delegating still makes sense as my business grows?
Yes, I think that it's important to think about outsourcing as not a transaction, but a conversation. And if you find the right freelance professionals to work with, then you bring them on board, they're part of your team. And it's really no different than employee in terms of how you communicate and share the direction your business is going. And that freelancer, especially frankly, if it's a team as opposed to an individual, can shift with you. Some of the, a lot of times a company will come and their immediate need is something that is more tactical, frankly, whether it's organizing emails or finding a CRM and populating that CRM. But once that work, that core work is done, that foundational work is done, then the work does need to shift, because the work needs to shift. How do you optimize the data in your CRM? How do you leverage it to get more prospective leads for your business, that sort of thing. And so what is defined as core versus non-core does shift over time. And in that conversation with the freelance professionals you're working for, it's a dialogue. And if you automate things that were once done by the VA, then that work doesn't have to be done by the person anymore. That time can be shifted to other things. And so it's a moving target, what's core and non-core. And back to my comment about not plunging into the deep end, you might start only with a couple of hours a week of outsourcing non-core work. And as that increases, the core work might stay the same, but your outsourcing of non-core work might increase. So it can really shift in both ways. But at the end of the day, I really think it's a conversation for possibility. And if you trust the virtual assistants that you're working with, then you're going to tell them more and more about your business and embrace their ideas for helping you scale, because you are leveraging people that work for more than one client, that have a lot of experience in supporting businesses, and they may have ideas about how to free you up to spend more time on the core work. And then what becomes core, as I mentioned in the two examples, both businesses started doing new things as a result of working with the VA that freed them up and also gave them ideas for expanding their business, which became more core work. So things shift constantly. So it's a little bit of a moving target, but I hope I gave you a feel for, how core to non-core is dynamic.
Thank you so much. Would I be working with one person as a primary contact, or would I be working with several people?
So I guess it depends on whether you're working with us or someone else. So I can't speak for other firms, but with us, our virtual assistant teams are led by a business owner. Lana, for example, owns her business, and she coordinates all of the client engagements. And if a client expressly wants to work just with her, then that needs to get factored into the work engagement that we would construct. But all of the VA teams have very skillful people that support them. So Lana has a team, and so the person that might be best suited to do bookkeeping is the bookkeeper on her team, as opposed to Lana, or someone that's an expert at social media or SEO. And so it kind of depends, but it's conversation with you in terms of how you want to work, recognizing that Lana scales by outsourcing too, to the people who are specialists on her team. And that's the same way all of our team leads work. They're all independent companies that are running their own businesses, and they have teams that help them scale. So they practice what they preach.
Thank you so much. What's the best way to get started with a VA? I have limited hours and finances as a small business.
Well, you are in good company, because I can't think of a business owner that didn't say the same thing to me. And again, I think it's the wading in conversation. It's starting small. And one of the first things that that happens during our complimentary job consult call is as very often you're talking to me, or one of our other experienced entrepreneurs, and we help you go through your priorities and what would make a difference, to your business to help you scale it and generate more revenue and value for your clients. And through that call, we kind of help diagnose the priority list, if you will. What are the different things you need, the different skills that you need, the different tools that you use, CRM systems or whatever, and we kind of like lay it out and make sure you agree that, hey, we think that these are your core priorities, at least for the first round. And then basically it's like, what is most important? If you can only allocate 2 or 3 hours a week, what is the best use of those 2 or 3 hours? So it's the same value of time conversation, just within the budget that you have. And if you think about virtual assistants, and our virtual assistants rates start at $45 an hour for US and Canadian based freelance teams. That might be 2 to 3 hours a week that, for $100, what work could that $100 get done for you? So it's not like you're talking about thousands of dollars or anything like that. And again, we don't have any retainer requirements. So you're not asked to sign up for 10, 20 hours a month or anything like that. You wade in, you want a couple hours a week, no problem, we can handle that. And so it's a dialogue, it's setting priorities, making sure what's most important to move your business forward, and then focusing whatever hours you can budget, to that work, get that done, and then reset. Well, okay, now we've got that done. What do we do next? So you really can take a very strategic but step-by-step approach to affording a virtual assistant that will free you up to do things that are higher ROI work for you. And that higher ROI work, if you generate more client value and generate revenue, that ultimately pays for that virtual assistant.
Thank you. We have another question. How and where do you source your freelancers?
Great question. So I kissed a lot of frogs over the years, and my platform's been in business active since 2017, and we've got thousands of people on our platform. But when I launched a couple of years ago, our move to the teams from the individual freelancers, I really went to the people that had profoundly successful client engagements through our platform. And so our teams are people that we've worked with before that have delivered consistently high quality value to clients. And each of those freelance teams keeps building their teams and adding more high quality people that expand their skill set. And so having pre-vetted teams that we've worked with before is key. And we also bring on new teams. And we do that, again, starting with referrals. We don't bring on anybody that we don't know in some form or fashion. And we bring them on and onboard them in a methodology that is unique to results resourcing, including shadowing work with teams that are successful. And I even lead some teams, to make sure that they get the right approach to. I don't lead any client work, but I lead the coordination of that work, because how we deliver the value is really, really important. So there's just an extensive vetting process, and we've even recently launched a training program to teach people our methods of delivering high value to clients. So there's an extensive process and a lot of pre-vetting that enables us to deliver the teams that we do.
How can I best integrate AI tools and human VAs in a way that enhances productivity without creating unnecessary issues or complexity?
Oh, that's a complicated question. But basically, I would say this, that I think that two things. One, I think that you should experiment with AI. If you haven't signed up for ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and all the many that are out there, you should do that and just start experimenting by asking its questions about, if I wanted to do this, what would you suggest? So it will it'll tell you the difference between the different AI platforms that are out there. And the key is how you ask the question. The more precise your question is, the better your answer is going to be. So I think just playing with it is an important starting point. And by playing with it, it'll help you think of ways it might help you. Organize data or a shopping list. It could be as simple as you're going to Staples, what should your shop? It could be as basic as that. So I think getting the hang of it's really important. And then the second thing is that for most solopreneurs and small businesses, you're going to be buying tools, and rather than creating an AI tool yourself. And I think increasingly all the tools that are out there are looking for ways to embed AI into how they deliver their tools, whether it's rewriting and using AI to rewrite a post. Like you see that on LinkedIn all the time. If you make a post, it'll offer, do you want it to be rewritten? Or if you write an email, there'll be an automatic thing. Would you like help rewriting this? So I think it's just recognizing that AI is increasingly getting embedded, in all kinds of tools, and you don't need to make it complicated or hard. It's really just thinking about how to incorporate it into the work that you do every day, and recognizing that more and more it's going to be available as part of the tools that you buy and use every day anyway. Did I answer the question, Lena? Or was there any other element I missed?
But how do you integrate the VA with the AI that you purchased?
Thank you. I knew there was another piece. So what I would say is the VAs, at least the ones that we work with, have taken AI on. They view it as an important part of their business, to be good at using AI for their own businesses. And I know they integrate work with AI in terms of, they might be asked to write an article. They might do research using AI to make sure that they covered the waterfront, rather than clicking on a million links that Google will serve up. They can ask AI questions about, give me some background information on this topic, or what are the four most important points if I was going to write an article about this or that. So there's a lot of use of AI in the work that they do, but they are careful to recognize that AI is going to serve up the same information to anybody that asks the question the same way. So AI is going to have a very generic answer depending on how the question is asked. And so that's really where the creative thinking and problem solving of the VA comes in, because the VA is going to think about the client's voice, the things that are going to differentiate the client. So you don't get a generic AI written article, you get an article that's soundly researched, because all the data that's available to the AI tools has been accessed, but then it's been customized and tailored to whatever it is that needs to be done. So personally, I think that AI is going to, through bots and things like that, it's going to assume a lot of the very task-oriented rote work that in the past a virtual assistant might have done, especially those that are outsourced to overseas virtual assistants. But I think AI is, the frontier will always shift, but at the end of the day, an outcomes-oriented virtual assistant is going to use AI as a tool to generate some foundational work that then they can take and customize and make uniquely valued to the client.
Thank you. How can I best maintain my brand standards when working with the VA?
Well, I think that's pretty straightforward, in the sense that you just need to communicate what they are. If you have a brand guideline, or you have a document that describes your voice, or just having a conversation with a virtual assistant about what your brand is and your voice. And just to ensure that when communications are written or whatever, that's the way you want it to be structured. At the same time, I would say that I would just express caution in having a VA, quote unquote, be you, in various social media mediums. I think that the best use is to use the VA to prep things that you can then deploy yourself as you on LinkedIn, for example. So I think VAs are very attuned to the need to be sensitive to brand voice and using your colors or whatever it is that's important to you. And it's just communicating your expectations and that they will produce work that way. And again, some people I think do use VAs to actually post things and things like that. And so I think it gets difficult if you expect a VA to respond to a LinkedIn post or something for you. I mean, that's I think discouraged by the platforms anyway. But I think that having them tee up work that you can then polish, in your brand voice and publish yourself is probably the way to go.
Do you have VAs that know how to use Sales Navigator?
Oh, absolutely. The VAs are universally skilled at LinkedIn, and many are quite skilled at Sales Navigator specifically. So that would be one thing that we would pull out in an initial conversation. What are the tools that you have and that you want used? And so, we would make sure that the VA team that we matched you with would have Navigator tools, Navigator skills. And the same would be true of any, say, CRM system or other tool that you might use. We would look for an explicit match, that the tools you use would also be the tools that the VA team is skillful in.
I use Benchmark CRM, but it isn't fully utilized, like pipelines and automation. Do you have any VAs that are benchmark savvy?
I would say yes. I would have to double check to make sure, but we've had other requests for benchmark in the past, and I believe we've been able to satisfy those clients. But basically, yes. I mean, a lot of requests we get for CRM are clients that have a CRM but have never optimized them in the way you just asked the question about optimizing workflows, for example. And so that's a perfect way for a VA who's very technically savvy, in the tools that you have to help you optimize it and really leverage your investment, get the most you can out of it. I mean, I could glad to speak with you personally about benchmark and double check that for you, but that's we've heard of that before, so I'm sure we've done it. Any others? A lot of great questions.
Yes, we covered a lot of questions. We're coming to almost the end of the webinar. So
okay, great. Well, I want to thank you so much for your attention and what wonderful questions. It really add another dimension to the workshop. Hopefully the 5 tips will be some things you can take away to think about and apply to your business. And I would thoroughly welcome a call to talk further with you, no obligation call, about using freelancers to scale your business. It's, as I said in the beginning, while it's my business, it's also become my mission. And would love to chat with you and help you move your business forward if I can help you. So thank you so much for joining us today.